dressed, we're going to confront Miss Goody." That's what Sean Diddy Combs allegedly told his assistant one morning while pacing back and forth, visibly agitated. His pants were torn at the crotch, his eyes full of rage. This isn't a movie scene. This is sworn courtroom testimony from someone who was there. Capricorn Clark worked side by side with one of hip-hop's most powerful moguls until the glitter faded and the darkness came to light. In a federal courtroom, she broke down in tears, revealing a terrifying world of abuse, fear, and control few ever imagined. He was violent toward her while she was curled up in a fetal position. He said if I interfered, I was next. What you're about to hear are disturbing allegations, threats, drug-fueled hotel rituals, lie detector interrogations, and physical violence, all surrounding one man, Sean Combs. Stay with me, because once you hear what Capricorn Clark had to say under oath, you'll never look at Diddy the same way again. Before the headlines, before the courtroom, Capricorn Clark was just another rising name behind the scenes of the music industry. She wasn't a celebrity. She wasn't trying to be famous, but she was everywhere Diddy went, quietly making the machine run. No college degree, no industry connections, just hustle. Clark started at the bottom, taking calls, booking flights, fixing problems before they exploded. Over time, she became more than just an assistant. She was Diddy's fixer, his gatekeeper, his shadow. Working for him was like business school, without the degree. Her job was 24/7, no breaks, no sleep, no excuses. She said she worked from 7 a.m. to 4 a.m., earning just $55,000 a year to manage everything from luxury hotel setups to covering up total chaos. She lost the hair from stress, she barely ate, and when it all became too much, Diddy reminded her who was in charge. He said I would never work again, that I'd lose everything, that he'd make me harm myself. Capricorn Clark wasn't just a bystander, she was inside the empire, and when it began to collapse, her voice became impossible to ignore. But that was only the beginning. To the public, they were hip-hop's power couple, but behind the luxury, the parties, and the cameras, there was something darker. Capricorn Clark saw it all, up close. She called their relationship toxic, not in passing, with conviction. She said they should have ended it long before they did. But walking away from Diddy wasn't easy. Not for anyone. Clark recalled nights that felt like war zones. "He was violent toward your daughter," she once told Cassie's mother. "I'm in over my head. Please help her." No one on Diddy's team would intervene. Not security, not friends. Clark said she had no choice but to call Cassie's mom directly, begging for someone, anyone, to step in. Then came the breaking point. After finding out Cassie was secretly seeing rapper Kid Cudi, Diddy snapped. He didn't just get angry, he became unhinged. Clark said Diddy was violent toward Cassie again and again, while she crouched in a fetal position just a few feet away. "If you step in," he told her, "I'll come after you next." That wasn't a threat, that was a promise. And Clark? She stayed silent, not out of loyalty, but out of fear. But the violence wasn't isolated to Cassie, it spiraled outward. And Clark was about to find herself in the crosshairs. December the 22nd, 2011. Capricorn. Clark woke up to pounding on her apartment door. Outside stood Diddy, furious, unhinged, holding an object that caused fear. "Get dressed," he told her. "We're going to confront Miss Goody." Clark didn't have time to think. She followed orders. Kid Cudi, real name Scott Muscudi, had gotten close to Cassie Ventura. Too close. And for Diddy, that wasn't just betrayal. It was a declaration of war. Clark said Diddy stormed into Cudi's home while she waited outside in the car. When she realized what was happening, she called Cassie in a panic. "He's at Cudi's house. He came to confront him." But it wasn't over. Not even close. Diddy came back to the car and grabbed Clark's phone. He saw the call to Cassie and made her redial. Cassie picked up. "Tell her I have you. Diddy told Clark. "Tell her she needs to come now or I won't let you go." Cassie agreed, calmly, almost like she'd done this before. When they returned to Diddy's home, the message was clear. No police, no talking, no leaks. "Convince Cootie to stay quiet," Diddy said, "or it's going to be bad." Clark wasn't just a witness anymore. She was now part of the cover-up. But Diddy's rage didn't stop at threats. It spiraled into full-blown control. Over Cassie, over Clark, even over life itself. Capricorn Clark thought her loyalty meant something. She'd given years to Diddy's empire, handling logistics, keeping secrets, enduring chaos. But one wrong move and everything shattered. In 2012, Diddy discovered that Cassie had been seeing Kid Cudi, and he blamed Clark for not telling him. He fired her, not with a pink slip or a conversation, but with threats that chilled her to the bone. "You'll never work again. No one's your friend. I'll make you harm yourself." Clark lost her job, her health benefits, her 401k, but most of all, her sense of safety. She told the court, "I lost everything." The emotional toll was unbearable. Diddy's words weren't just cruel, they were calculated to destroy her from the inside out. This wasn't about a job, it was about control, psychological warfare, and yet, 4 years later, she returned. In 2016, Clark stepped back into Diddy's world, but this time it was different. She wasn't working for him directly, she was Cassie's creative director. But even then, the shadow of Diddy loomed. He hadn't forgotten, and Clark hadn't healed, because the next time he got angry, things would explode all over again. What happened next didn't feel real, but Capricorn Clark remembers every detail. It was after the Kid Cudi incident, when tensions between Diddy and Cassie were at their peak. Cassie showed up at Diddy's home, and that's when it happened. According to Clark's testimony, Diddy, wearing a robe and underwear, snapped. He attacked Cassie, not a shove, not an argument, a physical assault. "He came at her with full force," Clark told the court, her voice shaking. Cassie dropped to the ground, curling into a fetal position, crying quietly. Diddy kicked her repeatedly while Clark stood just a few feet away, frozen in horror. She wanted to help, but she couldn't. "If you step in, I'll come after you too," he warned her. No one in his inner circle moved, not his security, not his staff, no one. Clark did the only thing she could think of. She called Cassie's mother. "He's hurting your daughter. I'm in over my head. Please help her." This wasn't a one-time outburst, it was a pattern, and Clark knew it. But the next incident would cross a line no one expected. December 22nd, 2011. A date Capricorn. Clark says she'll never forget. It was early morning when Diddy showed up at her door, furious, not angry, unhinged. His pants were torn at the crotch, he was pacing, and his words chilled her to the bone. "Get dressed! We're going to confront Miss Cudi." He meant Kid Cudi, Cassie's new boyfriend, and he wasn't joking. Clark followed orders, terrified. Minutes later, they were outside Cudi's house. Diddy walked right up to the main entrance and let himself in. Clark stayed behind in the car, stunned. She called Cassie immediately. "He came here to confront him," she warned, but that was just the beginning. When Diddy returned, he demanded her phone. He saw she'd called Cassie and forced her to dial again, this time on speaker. He told Cassie he had Clark, and he wouldn't let her go until she showed up in person. Cassie agreed. They brought her back to Diddy's house, where he told them flat out, "Don't talk to the police." "Convince Cudi not to say anything," he told them. "Make sure no one finds out I was there." What Clark described wasn't just an emotional outburst. It sounded like the actions of someone ready to commit a violent crime and erase the evidence afterward. But if you thought that was the lowest point, you'd be wrong. The fallout from Cassie's relationship with Kid Cudi wasn't just personal. It destroyed Capricorn Clark's career. Diddy blamed her for not reporting the romance, and the consequences were brutal. She was fired, But it wasn't just a job loss, it was a complete erasure. Clark told the court that Diddy warned her with chilling certainty, "You'll never work again. None of these people are your friends. I'll make you harm yourself." Those words weren't empty threats. Clark said they haunted her, and the damage was real. She lost her health insurance, her 401k, everything she'd built. Yet despite the pain and fear, Clark didn't walk away. In 2016, she re-entered Diddy's world, this time working closely with Cassie Ventura as her creative director. But the scars of betrayal and fear lingered, a constant reminder of what happens when loyalty turns into danger. And the story doesn't end here. There's more beneath the surface that few have seen. Working for Diddy wasn't just stressful, it was dangerous. Capricorn Clark revealed moments that went far beyond typical boss-employee drama. She testified that Diddy once told her he should harm you in a furious outburst over Cassie's relationship with Kid Cudi. But the threats didn't stop there. Clark described an incident walking through Central Park where Diddy, talking about Suge Knight, looked her dead in the eye and said something that made her fear for her life. "I should harm you." She took it seriously, and with good reason. There were even requests that pushed ethical and legal boundaries. Clark said she was sometimes asked to obtain drugs for Diddy, illicit substances and prescription medications alike. On one occasion in France, he allegedly asked her to get cocaine, and on others, he wanted prescription drugs ordered in her name. This wasn't a simple job anymore. It was a 24/7 pressure cooker, with Clark caught in the middle of escalating threats and impossible demands. And the emotional toll? It was devastating. Capricorn Clark's nightmare didn't end with threats. It spiraled into a terrifying test of survival. After 3 expensive pieces of jewelry went missing, Diddy zeroed in on Clark. She was accused of theft. But this wasn't just a simple investigation. Clark testified she was locked inside an unfamiliar office in New York City, told she wasn't free to leave until she passed a lie detector test. For 5 grueling days, she sat hooked up to a polygraph machine, sometimes for 8 hours straight. The test dragged on from mid-morning until early evening, one after another, until finally Diddy cleared her name. But the pressure wasn't just mental. Clark recalled a chilling moment when a heavy-set man administering the test threatened her with harm if she failed. She was terrified but determined to prove her innocence. And she wasn't alone. Another former assistant testified about being forced through similar polygraph ordeals. The experience showed just how far Diddy's world blurred the line between loyalty and intimidation. The violence wasn't just behind closed doors. It spilled into moments that left witnesses shaken. Capricorn Clark tearfully recounted a terrifying night after the Kid Cudi incident, when Diddy unleashed a brutal assault on Cassie Ventura. Wearing nothing but a robe and underwear, he attacked her relentlessly, kicking her as she crouched in a fetal position, quietly crying. Clark was just a few feet away, powerless to stop the assault. She testified that when she tried to intervene, Diddy warned her that she would be next. Shockingly, none of his security team stepped in to stop the attack. Feeling helpless and desperate, Clark made a call she never wanted to make. She contacted Cassie's mother. "He's hurting your daughter. I'm in over my head. Please help her. I can't call the police, but you can." That call was a desperate plea for intervention when no one else would step forward. This harrowing moment exposed a darker side of power, one where fear and violence ruled and loyalty meant silence. Working for Diddy wasn't just demanding, it took a physical and emotional toll that almost broke Capricorn Clark. She described the constant 24/7 stress, long hours from early morning until the early hours of the next day, juggling everything from research to running errands, all for a salary of just $55,000. The pressure was relentless, and it showed. Clark revealed she suffered from stress-related alopecia, hair loss caused by overwhelming anxiety. Sleep became a luxury she could rarely afford. The job wasn't just stressful, it was exhausting and dehumanizing. Each day blurred into the next with no reprieve, leaving Clark feeling trapped in a cycle of fear, and exhaustion. It was a world where boundaries were crossed and personal well-being was sacrificed for loyalty to a boss whose demands never stopped. This was the breaking point for many, but for Clark, it was just another chapter in a story of survival. Power wasn't just about money or fame, it was about control. Capricorn Clark revealed how Diddy exercised his dominance in unsettling ways. One moment stood out. At a gathering in his Los Angeles home, Diddy summoned Cassie Ventura and had her obey his every command. Sit down, stand up, turn around, all while others watched. Then came a biting comment, "You don't want to do that, and that's why you don't have a man." It was a chilling display, a reminder that beneath the glitz and glamour, manipulation and humiliation were tools Diddy used to assert his authority. Clark also described how Diddy's meticulous hotel room setups included not just luxury items but drugs, baby oil, and IV drips, everything to maintain the lifestyle and control the environment. This wasn't just a job, it was a game of obedience, where dissent wasn't tolerated and every move was under scrutiny.